Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Down the Tee Tennis Podcast. It's the first one. Is it the first one of 2020? It's the second one of 2021, isn't it? The podcast with Mark Milne, which you should check out as first ever guest. What was at the start of the year, but now we're going into the first slam of the year, the Australian Open, the Happy Slam, it's nicknamed. It's exciting for the tennis season to be started. How are you feeling, Ewan?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's obviously been a while since I had a Grand Slam, but even though they were delayed last year, and yeah, I'm glad it looks like it's all going to be going ahead okay. After there's a bit of a worry about the positive test the other day from the hotel staff member at the hotel where a lot of the players have been staying. But yeah, I'm glad it looks like we're finally going to have the Australian Open starting in February, which is obviously unusual. It would usually be finished by now, but yeah, I'm glad it's just around the corner.
Yeah, and just the other day, I think we were organising sort of when the podcast recording would be, wouldn't it? And then that news came through that there'd been a positive test on one of the staff members at the hotel, and there was really that kind of moment of, oh no, is it going to be called off? But luckily, I think all players that are part of the draw tested negative, so it looks like it's game on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks good now, and obviously the draw put back by one day, but thankfully it was only play suspended at the warm-up events for a day, so it looks like all the tournaments are going to be completed. I think besides one, the Grampians Trophy, they're not going to play the final; they're just going to play the semi-finals and give both players runners-up points and prize money. But besides that, it's fine.
Yeah, and there's been a little bit of discussion sort of earlier into the quarantine period that so some tennis players were complaining about conditions, and there seems to have been quite a difference in opinion to a lot of the general public and tennis players. But then a lot of players came out and said they completely understand the situation, and the conditions aren't that bad. So did you have any thoughts on that? Do you think tennis players in general covered themselves in much glory during that whole early quarantine period?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand why some of them might have been frustrated when if there was one positive case on the flight. I know some of them were saying that they weren't made aware that they would have to do a 14-day hard quarantine if that happened. But from what Tennis Australia was saying, that there was a call where players were told that, and not everyone attended. So yeah, I think from that point of view, they should have been aware of it. But yeah, of course, it's not ideal preparation for a Grand Slam to be in a hotel room for 2 weeks, but it seems like everyone's still prepared in the best way that they can. And look, you can understand that with the tough restrictions and what everyone in Melbourne have had to go through in the last few months, so they're not going to take any chances. So yeah, I've got some sympathy, but probably did not. Some players maybe didn't cover themselves in glory with the reaction. But look, I think I'm glad it's all sorted now.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it is important to say some players didn't cover themselves in glory, but there were plenty of players that just completely understood the situation. Australia has been a really positive example of how to respond to a pandemic in general, with the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And they couldn't really take any chances, could they, in letting it, return to their shores. So you can I completely fall. Completely understand the restrictions in Australia and the restrictions on the tennis players, and I think most tennis players do as well. But just one more thing before we get into it. The Australian Open, nicknamed the Happy Slam, I think that's partly to do with, it being the start of the season. It's in, a really sunny country, really nice weather. So players really do enjoy travelling over there to play. But I think for a lot of people watching in Europe, a lot of European tennis fans, it's kind of like we have to adapt to sleeping schedules if we want to get into the whole tournament. We have to either be, pretty much living in an Australian time zone in when we sleep, or we just catch kind of the very start of the day session and the end of the night session when we wake up the following morning. So have you been adapting your sleep schedule, or have you just been watching games here and there?
I've mainly I've mainly just been catching ones that have been on when I wake up. I have been getting up a bit earlier for some matches. I've been watching quite a bit of the ATP Cup and one or two of the other warm-up events. But yeah, definitely for the Australian Open, I do adapt it a bit and try and get up as early as I can for a lot of the matches, because a lot of great matches going on through the night in the UK time. But there's plenty when you get, especially the last stage of the tournament, early morning and even to midday. There's great matches on in the UK, so always look forward to that, even though it's a bit different to the European slams and even the US Open.
Yeah, just one more thing then before we get into it. You said you've been watching quite a bit of the ATP Cup. So has there been anyone that you've been watching in the ATP Cup that's maybe changed what your expectations were of them in the Australian Open that have been playing?
Well, I've been really impressed by Matteo Berrettini. It hasn't actually changed how far I've predicted him to go, but it's definitely made him think of him as more of a serious contender than I would have probably expected, given what we saw from him last year, where he did struggle a bit to back up his great 2019 season. But yeah, I've been really impressed by Berrettini. Obviously, at the time of recording, Italy have reached the final and they've been really impressive. Berrettini's won all his singles matches and had some really impressive wins. So I definitely think Berrettini's someone to look out for the Australian Open and in 2021 in general.
Yeah, so we'll get into it. We'll start by looking at the men's draw. Berrettini was one that I've kind of changed my expectations of a bit as well. He has looked really good in the ATP Cup. But yeah, so we'll get into it. We'll start by looking at us men's quarter-final matchups, and then we'll kind of have a little bit of discussion about how they've got there and, you know, how it goes from the quarterfinals. So just to start off with you, and who are your quarterfinalists?
Yeah, so my quarterfinalists for quarterfinal 1, I've gone for Djokovic against Zverev. Quarterfinal 2, Thiem against Shapovalov. Quarterfinal 3, Rublev against Medvedev. And number 4, Tsitsipas against Nadal. So I just realized I said Shapovalov. I've actually gone for Jannik Sinner against Thiem in the second quarterfinal, because that was a 50-50 call between those two. So I've got a bit down about both of them. But yeah, they're my 8 quarterfinalists. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, so I've gone with Djokovic versus Zverev, much like you, for kind of the top quarter of the draw. I've actually got Thiem versus Schwartzman. I've had Schwartzman beating Shapovalov along the way. I've actually got Roberto Bautista Agut versus Medvedev. We'll discuss that a bit more later on, but that might surprise a few people. And for my final quarterfinal, I've got Stefano Tsitsipas v Rafa Nadal. But yeah, so just starting off, we'll look at the top group, the group for the number 1 seed. What do you think to Djokovic's run?
Yeah, I think he's got a challenging draw, but I still expect him to come through at least to the quarterfinal stage and further, as we'll get on to later. But I've been impressed from what I've seen from him in the ATP Cup. I think he was really good in his win against Denis Shapovalov. He was good against Zverev as well, to come from a set down and then to win 7-5 in the third. It was a tight match, but I was impressed by his level overall. And as you expect, he was showing the mental toughness in the big moments to come through and able to find his best when he did look in trouble at times. But yeah, I've been impressed with him. I think he's had a good preparation to get 2 singles matches and 2 doubles matches under his belt at the ATP Cup. And I think looking at the draw, Shardy in the first round, not an easy match, but I expect him to win that. Tiafoe, Travaglia in the second round. Travaglia's got to a final in one of the warm-up events, but I don't see too many problems there. And then possibly a Pelko or Fritz, which could be challenging, but he has a great record against that type of player. And then the fourth round could be when it first real challenges, because it could be Stan Wawrinka, who obviously is always a great match when Stan Wawrinka plays Djokovic in a Grand Slam, but I would still back Djokovic to come through it right now, although we've seen better signs from Stan at the back end of last season and to start this year. It could be Milos Raonic, who's the highest seed, and obviously Djokovic has got a great record against, so I would still expect him to come through that and reach the quarterfinal.
Yeah, well, for Djokovic, I mean, immediately jumped out to me Shardy first round, and I'm like, Shardy, that's a really tough first round opponent. But I had a look at the head-to-head, and I think I'm not sure Shardy's ever taken a set off Djokovic, and they've played each other quite a lot as well. So even though it is kind of based on the player's ability, the player's history, the player's ranking, a tough first round opponent, it's not someone Djokovic has faced many problems with. I've actually gone with Tiafoe getting to round 2. I feel like you know, he's very much a confidence player at times, but I think during slams he's kind of at his top motivation, and I'd expect him to get through at least that first round. But yeah, they've never played each other, Djokovic Tiafoe. I think that'd be an interesting match, but Djokovic would still win. I think for definite. I think the most interesting thing along the way is whether he plays Wawrinka or Raonic in round 4, because Wawrinka's been a bit of a bogey player for him at times. You'd still say, based on where they're at, that and still Djokovic's record against Wawrinka, that you'd still fancy Djokovic, but it could be one that causes him problems. Raonic, I remember that great first set against Djokovic. Which Masters was it?
Was it the Cincinnati Masters, but played in New York last year? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, the Cincinnati Masters, Raonic looked to be causing some real problems for Djokovic, but in typical Novak fashion, he kind of regroups. You know, he's really good at just resetting, working out the solution to the problems within his game, and just turning it around. And I think he steamrolled the third set in the end of Djokovic. So you'd still probably predict him to get through the ring for a Raonic, but it is a really tough draw for Djokovic, I think. For the number 1 seed, it isn't an easy route at all. But it's Novak, so you still predict him to get past everyone along the way. So Zverev, how have you got to his quarterfinal?
Zverev. So yeah, I think Zverev's got a pretty good draw to get through. I think again, I think he's played pretty well in the ATP Cup. Zverev. I think there's been some good signs. I mean, still obviously lingering issues with the second serve, but I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be solved anytime soon. But in terms of the first serve, still a huge weapon. And actually, I think his forehands look good, which has also been a vulnerability at times. And overall, I've been impressed by Zverev. Germany have had a good run in the semi-finals, and I think to look at the draw, Giron in the first round, most likely Maxime Cressy in round 2. I can't see too many problems there. Then Kekmanovic in round 3 is a good player. It's a 1-1 head-to-head. But again, I think Zverev will be too strong. And Monfils most likely in round 4. Had this been a year ago or slightly less, when Monfils was putting together a fantastic run at the start of the year, I would have given Monfils a real chance there. And he does lead the head-to-head 3-0, Monfils. But I just think we've not seen a lot from Monfils since the tour resumed last year. He's really struggled to recapture that form. I think he's struggled without fans, and obviously going to get some fans here, but I just don't think it's Monfils at his best. So it could also be Lajovic in round 4, but again, I don't see too many problems for Zverev there on current form.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I've even predicted kind of straight sets victories for the first few rounds for Zverev. So he's got a good opportunity to not only win games but limit his amount of court time, so he's fitter later in the tournament. I've actually got Monfils going out quite early because the lack of tennis he's played recently. I kind of thought if he comes up against a Nishioka and Alexander Bublik, those games could be really, really tough for him. So, yeah, I've got Monfils going out quite early. And in general, Zverev quite an easy route to the quarterfinal. But moving on to the next section, I think we both went with Thiem, didn't we? So just go through his route.
Yeah, I was fairly confident with Thiem. I mean, it wasn't not an easy draw, but I mean, starting with Kukushkin, tough opponent, but I don't see any problems there. Probably Dominic Koepfer in round 2, I'd say the same. And then it could definitely get interesting in round 3, where you could play Nick Kyrgios or Hugo Humbert. I mean, Kyrgios looked okay in the warm-up event, but I mean, it doesn't look like he's possibly had the best preparation or done a whole lot of training. So he's always dangerous, but yeah, it's a big if he would actually get past Humbert in round 2 anyway. So, and Humbert definitely is a very talented young player. He could give Thiem some problems, but I still think whoever it is he meets in that round 3 stage could be a really interesting match, but he'll be too strong. And then in round 4, it could be anyone out of Carreño Busta, Dimitrov, Cilic, or Nishikori, which I'll probably say right now most likely Dimitrov or Carreño Busta. And again, I think Thiem will just be too strong. He's looked okay at the ATP Cup, maybe not absolutely at his best. He wasn't great against Berrettini, but I think a lot of that was great performance from Berrettini more than Thiem putting in a really poor show. So yeah, I think Thiem will definitely come through the quarters.
see, you've just mentioned that Berrettini game in the ATP Cup there, but also the fact that he didn't get probably as much time on the court as he wanted to with that Benoit pair game, with Benoit having to retire after the first set. It's really kind of thrown me off about Team, because I'd probably have him fairly solidly making the semi-final, if not, whereas now I've still got him to get that far, but I'm less sure of it. And he has got some tough opponents along the way, so I have picked Kyrgios for round 3 just because it is his home slam, and we know that when he wants to, he will turn up and put on some good performances. So, yeah, I've got Kyrgios for round 3. I've got him getting through Kyrgios. I don't think it'd cause too many problems, but I've got Kyrgios taking a set off him maybe. And then I've gone with Dimitrov in round 4. I've actually got Nishikori getting to round 3. I'm not too sure on that because of the limited amount of tennis he's played recently, but I want K to get to round 3 pretty much. But I've got Dimitrov getting through Nishikori, and that could prove a difficult game for Team as well. So yeah, I think you've got to predict Team for at least the quarterfinals, but it does worry me a bit, the lack of preparation, really, not getting the preparation he wanted to. He obviously did have that exhibition against Nadal. That looked a decent match, but it's a strange one. Sorry,
I was just gonna say I agree with you on it's not ideal preparation for Team. I mean, he did get that extra match against Nadal, but the only reason I'm still fairly confident he can come through is at the US Open. Obviously, in the warm up to that in Cincinnati, lost I think in the first round to Krajinovic and looked really poor, and then it still seemed to put together a great performance at the Grand Slam. So I agree with you. It's not ideal, and I'm less confident than would have been. But yeah, I would say that's possibly a good thing for Team.
Yeah, you look at some of the names in that section as well, even the ones that maybe we haven't predicted to get through the early rounds. So you've got the Nishikori Kyrenia booster first round match. That's going to be a brilliant match, I think, for the first round, by the way. Dimitrov Cilic, I think we've both predicted Dimitrov to get through that. Cilic is still a player that can cause some problems. There's some great players in that little section of the draw, and some good matches.
It's a strong section.
But yeah, so moving on to the next section, this is where we've got a difference of opinion. I've gone with the seedings for Schwartzman. You've gone with Sinner, which I don't think is a bad shout at all. So can you just talk us through that?
Yeah, this was a really tough one. Probably one of the toughest definitely the toughest in the men's draw to call, I thought, and one of the toughest across either draw. I was really 50-50 on Shapovalov and Sinner, and I hadn't written off Schwartzman either, but I just felt that the winner of Sinner and Shapovalov rather would go on to beat Schwartzman in the 4th round, and I definitely think Schwartzman will get to the 4th round because he doesn't seem to have too much trouble in his way on the path that Benoit Paire is the only seed there, and I would expect him to come through that. But I just think Sinner's looked very good in the warm-up tournament. He's obviously reached the final, which I think he'll play on Sunday. And yeah, he had a great win against Hashinov in the semi-finals, saving a match point, I think, in the 3rd. And it's been very impressive. Whereas Shapovalov's on a 6-match losing streak. That is a concern for me. I didn't think he looked bad at the ATP Cup. I thought he put in a couple of good performances against Zverev and Djokovic, but just in the big moments, sort of let himself down a bit, which has been a problem from at times. So, whereas with Sinner, I haven't seen a lot of mental frailty even so early in his career. So I would, just on current form as well, I would go with Sinner to come through that, and then he would likely face Bernard Tomic or Sagita in the 2nd round, which I don't think will be a problem. Alger-Aliassime in the 3rd round could be a really interesting match because obviously Alger-Aliassime has reached a final of a warm-up event as well, where he'll play Dan Evans, and he's looking pretty good. But I would expect him to come through that, and then probably Schwartzman as well. But yeah, that is a really tough section. I wouldn't be surprised to see any of those 3 that we mentioned in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it is. It's a really interesting section of the draw, and I think the fact that you were kind of torn between 2 first-round opponents for the quarterfinal just shows. I mean, that is a really interesting matchup. Shapovalov Sinner in the 1st round. I've got Tomic making the 2nd round to come up against either of them. Once again, home slam. He did well to come through qualifying. He looks to found a little bit of his motivation again. So that's an interesting opponent. That's an opponent that's been, up there in the rankings and could cause problems if he's anywhere near his best. He's also got the, ability to just completely tank the match as his reputation. So yeah, round 3, you've got a possible all-Canadian tie or all young, well, either way it's an all young talents tie, isn't it? So Felix versus either Shapovalov or Sinner. It's a section of the draw, another section of the draw with really interesting matchups along the way. But I've gone with the seedings with Schwartzman just for that extra little bit of experience if he comes up against Sinner or Shapovalov in the 4th round. Just the fact that he's been at that stage of slams a little bit more. And I feel like that might help see him through. But yeah, so moving on. So yeah, another difference in opinion here. I've gone with Roberto Batista Agut. I think you've gone with Rublev, haven't you? So
yeah, this was a fairly tough one as well. But I just think with the form Rublev has been in to start the year again, and to finish the year, he sort of lost a bit of the fantastic form slightly in Paris and London, but a lot of that could have been a fatigue given how many tournaments he played and just how much winning he did. So he seems to have just picked up where he's left off. He's demolished a couple of players at the ATP Cup, and I think you're right. Definitely, Bautista Agut will be a really tough opponent, but I think before that, I can't see him having any problems against Yannick Hanfmann probably in round 1, Thiago Monteiro in round 2, or then Sonego or Query in round 3. Could be challenging, but I just think he'll be too good, or possibly Feliciano Lopez is another option in round 3. And then for round 4, I do think it'll be Bautista Agut. Other possibilities are Struff, who's played really well in the ATP Cup, and Casper Ruud, but no, I definitely think it'll be Bautista Agut. I would just give Rublev the edge on current form.
Yeah, I think I can definitely see that argument. In fact, that's probably what most people would say. Once again, I think my thinking on Bautista Agut was kind of that extra experience at this stage of slams. Rublev's a brilliant talent. He's one that I really do like a lot. I think I've said that in the past. I really like his game. I like his aggression. He's a player that's interesting to watch. I'd go out of my way to watch him. But once again, I've just gone with that extra experience at kind of this level to help see Bautista Agut through to the quarterfinal. But it's one you could easily see going either way if that comes up. They've both got a couple of matches along the way that could present little problems, but I'd say they both get there. And I think that's a match to watch if it comes up. But moving on, both gone with Medvedev here, I believe. Once again, what's your thinking?
Yeah, he was one of the ones I was most confident with. I think he's on about a 13-match winning streak at the moment. He's just forgotten how to lose, and he's just so solid. I think he really has established himself as a top 4 player, and he's got a tricky first round in Pospisil, who had a good year, a really good resurgence last year. I mean, that's not an easy start, but I still think he'll be too good and come through it. Then possibly Balash in the second round. I can't see him having any problems with Balash or the other possible opponent I've forgotten, but it wasn't. I don't think he'll be able to cause him a problem. Then Krajinovic in round 3 is not an easy one. Krajinovic is a good player, but again, I think it's a matchup where he's fairly similar in his style as a baseline, and I think Medvedev will just have too much. And then in the 4th round, I've got David Goffin or Borna Coric, which I'll probably pick Coric to get that far on current form. He's looked quite good in a warm-up, but whoever it is out of those two, again, I think it's a good matchup for Medvedev against good baseline players who I think he's just got a bit too much for.
Yeah, like you, Pospisil, really difficult first round opposition. Really, as difficult as first round opposition can be for a high seeded player. But you'd still predict him to get through. I think the head to head is actually 2-1 to Medvedev, but Pospisil has beaten him relatively recently. I think he won a tournament in 2020, but he still needs Medvedev to get through. I've highlighted Peja Coric as an interesting first round match. To be fair, 2 players quite high in the rankings. I've got him Krajinovic along the way. I've actually got Goffin in the 4th round now. What I would say, Chorich, Goffin, Krajinovic. Do you see any of those ties possibly going to a fifth set? Because obviously we know about this horrible fifth set record that Medvedev has got.
Yeah, if they could, I think it could be a concern because I mean they're likely to be physical matches. They're all strong players from the baseline, but I think the only way they'll go to a fifth set is if on current form is Medvedev's well below the level he's shown for the start of this season and the end of last season, and I just can't see it currently. I would probably expect them to beat Krajinovic in 3 or 4, and same with Goffin or Chorich, most likely straight sets, but 4 at most. So yeah, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. Moving on, Stefano Tsitsipas, Berrettini on it is in his little section of the draw. We've already spoke about Kieran Khachanov in that section of the draw, but I think we've both on Tsitsipas, so just go through your thinking on that one.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting section as well. I mean, and definitely, as we discussed, Berrettini's form has definitely thrown a bit of a spanner in the works in this section. Where I would have been a lot more confident probably with Tsitsipas previously, but I'm still going with Tsitsipas. I think he's got a decent draw. Gilles Simon in the first round isn't easy, but I think at this stage of his career is unlikely to be too much of a problem. And then either Tanazi Kokkinakis or Kwon in round 2, I'll probably expect that to be Kwon. I can't see that being an issue for Tsitsipas. And then it could be an interesting round 3 match against either Hubert Hurkacz or Carlos Alcaraz. And also there's Botic van der Zandschulp, the Dutch player who's had a good run to the quarterfinals of one of the warm-up events. I'll probably pick Hurkacz to get to that round, even though Alcaraz has had a couple of good wins in a warm-up event as well. That's a match I'll definitely like to see, Tsitsipas against Alcaraz. But I think I'll probably give it to Hurkacz, who's a bit more experienced, and I think Tsitsipas just be a bit too strong. And then in round 4, I think it will be Berrettini who gets that far. I mean, Berrettini's got a couple of tough matches, though. He's got Kevin Anderson up in the first round, which is a tough first round, but I think he'll get through it. And then Khachanov as well to get through, but Khachanov is not, he had it run to a semi-final, but I'm still not convinced he's at the level he was when he broke through 2 or 3 years ago. And I think it'll be Berrettini coming through to play a really interesting 4th round match against Tsitsipas, but I'd still give Tsitsipas the edge there.
Yeah, I've got the same 4th round match as you, Tsitsipas Berrettini, and I've also said, that could be a really, really great battle between those two. Gilles Simon, he was another one like Jeremy Chardy who jumped out as tough as a first round opponent could be for a player in the top 4 seeds, but I'd still have Tsitsipas going through and in straight sets. So from there, I think his run is quite decent until Berrettini. I mean, Hurkacz is a good player who can, cause him some problems. I think he caused Djokovic some problems at Wimbledon a couple of years back. Took a set off him, but you'd still have him getting through that. So yeah, I feel quite solid on Berrettini up until Tsitsipas on getting to the quarterfinal up until he faces Berrettini in that 4th round, where that's where you think he could go a different way. Botic van der Zandschulp, I think I pronounced that right, versus Carlos Alcaraz. I've got that highlighted as a really interesting first round match because you've got, I think he's a 25-year-old making his first appearance in a slam main draw versus, one of the most exciting young breakthrough talents that we've got in tennis at the moment. And I've got Botic actually winning that because he has, they've both taken good results in the warm-up tournaments, but he's taken a couple more good results, I think. But what do you think to that little matchup there?
I agree. I think it's a really interesting one. And yeah, Van der Zandschulp is really interesting because, like you say, he's in his mid-20s, but he's probably been a bit of a late bloomer. I mean, following a bit of his results on the Challenger Tour last year, and I think slightly the year before, he put together some really solid results and sort of had a rise seemingly out of nowhere, and he sort of built himself inside the top 200 and towards the top 100. And he had some great results at an ATP level event for the first time this week. And I think that's definitely an interesting one against Alcaraz, seeing Alcaraz in his first Grand Slam main draw as well.
Yeah. And then final section leading up to the quarterfinals then. I think we've both gone Rafa.
Yeah.
So take us through that one.
Yeah, but I'm a bit concerned about Nadal's physical condition, given that he hasn't played any of his matches at the ATP Cup, and there is a back concern. He said he's felt stiffness, I think, during and after training, and he said he's just not in great shape, which, I mean, that is a worry, but he hasn't pulled out yet, which I think he would have done if it was really serious. And, you know, hopefully from his point of view and for the tournament, it was just more precautionary that he didn't play there. He just felt he wasn't quite right, but he's hoping to be closer to 100% for the Australian Open. So, and I think he's got a really good draw, which is the reason I've still coming through. Even it's going to give him a chance to play his way through, as long as the injury or the issue he's got isn't too serious. I mean, Laszlo Djere in the first round, I can't see being a problem for him. He's, you know, obviously won Rio a couple of years ago. He's a good player, but I don't think it's a bad start. And then probably Viktor Troicki in round 2, or Michael Moe, who are both qualifiers. And Troicki a lot more experienced, but hasn't been anywhere near his best for a couple of years. It's at the end of his career. I can't see an issue there. And then either Evans or Cam Norrie in round 3, I think. And again, I think both of those are a pretty good matchup for Nadal. Evans is playing really well. Obviously, he's in a final, but I think they're both really good matchups for Nadal. I can't see him having any trouble with those. And I think it's the same with round 4. I mean, well, with Fognini, obviously has had some wins against Nadal in the past, and he's actually looked a lot better at the ATP Cup than he had towards the end of last season when he'd just come back from an injury. But I'm not sure if Fognini can beat this version of Nadal like he did in the 2015 US Open, which was a Nadal well below his best, or Alex de Minaur, who I would actually think is most likely to get to round 4. But again, I think that's a good matchup for Nadal, and I can see him coming through that. Even if there are question marks physically, I think he's got a chance to play himself in there as long as he can take to the court.
Yeah, I've also same thinking as you. So it is concerning that Nadal's been having to pull out of these ATP Cup matches, but like you say, I think it has just been precautionary, because if not, you'd think he'd have already withdrawn from the tournament. So in terms of his early round matches, he's got a good chance to kind of limit the load on him, and he should win, I think, the first 3 rounds in straight sets. Even Dan Evans who's playing well at the moment, is a good matchup for Nadal. Nadal vastly leads head-to-head. So going into the 4th round, I've actually got de Minaur for the 4th round. I think Fognini's ATP Cup form is interesting and does make me question that a bit, but de Minaur, he won at Antalya, was it? That de Minaur won? Yeah, so it looks really good, back towards the breakout that he was having before he went through a bit of an injury problem, didn't he? So that 4th round match, I think, that's when Nadal could really start to be tested. I'd still say for the extra aggression that Nadal's got, he can hit through de Minaur, but de Minaur has that ability to just make him hit that extra shot that he doesn't want to hit. When Nadal hits what should be a winner, de Minaur's got that chance to get it back and make him hit another shot, and you still expect Nadal to hit through de Minaur, but he'll be tested a little bit more if that matchup happens. But yeah, up until the 4th round, I think Nadal has a chance to really limit court time and keep himself in good physical condition. What are your thoughts on that first round, Ty? The only 2 British players in the men's draw, I believe, Dan Evans and Cam Norrie.
Yeah, I know. It is an interesting first round. I think it'll be a good match, because I mean, we saw Norrie have some good results at the US Open last year. He had a really good win against Diego Schwartzman in the first round. I would expect Evans to come through it just on form, as long as the run he's had at the final of the warm-up event doesn't take too much out of him. I think he's in good shape, but that's definitely an interesting one to watch in the first round.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, and it was one that was difficult to kind of predict for me, because they've mostly played each other in Battle of the Brits exhibitions. I think they haven't actually had many compact matches against each other. Dan Evans has got a positive record against left-handers, though, and that's what, plus the fact that Dan Evans is going deeper in tournaments at the moment, they were the 2 factors that made me think it is going to be Evans to get through that. But moving on, so who have you got to get through those quarterfinal matchups? then?
Yeah, so I've got Djokovic to beat Zverev in the first quarterfinal. I've got Thiem to beat Jannik Sinner. Got Medvedev to beat Rublev, and Nadal to beat Tsitsipas.
Yeah. So I've got Djokovic to beat Zverev, Thiem to beat Schwartzman. I've got Medvedev to beat Bautista Agut, and I've got Nadal beating Tsitsipas. So that leaves us with semi-final matchups. Djokovic v Thiem. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I've got Djokovic to win that, and I think it'll be a really tough match. But because I think you might have a challenge against Zverev in the quarterfinals, whereas with Thiem, I think Sinner, if as I've predicted him to get at that stage, I think it's a great run for him to get the quarterfinals. I would expect Thiem to win that, not comfortably, but without too much trouble. So I think that'll be a really tough semi-final. I'd expect Djokovic to win in 4 or 5 sets, but I just think he looks good at the moment, and I can't go against his record at the Australian Open. He's never lost a semi-final or a final, and I haven't seen anything to suggest that that's going to change. He looks in good shape. Even last year, when he wasn't at his best, he found a way to win the tournament, including against Thiem in the final. So yeah, I've got him to win that, but it'll be a tough one.
And I think we both ended up with Medvedev versus Nadal, didn't we, despite some difference in opinion along the way in terms of quarterfinals. So Medvedev being Nadal, that's another really good matchup, isn't it? How do you see that one panning out?
It is, yeah. And I've got Medvedev to beat Nadal in that one. So yeah, like I said, I think Nadal's draw is good. I think he can get to that stage as long as there isn't too serious a problem. But I mean, Medvedev is probably the form player on the ATP tour right now. I mean, on a 30-match winning streak, which will be closer to 20 by the time he gets to this match. And even though Nadal still had the better of the rivalry overall, Medvedev did win the last one in London, and a couple of the ones before that when they played in London the year before. He had a match point. Obviously, the US Open final was an epic match. So I think it's a really close rivalry. And I just think on current form and still with a bit of a question of Nadal, Medvedev will win that in what will probably be another tough match in 4 or 5 sets.
So yeah, I've gone heart over head, which I think I've spoke about a few times with my picks before in different predictions. I've gone Nadal over Medvedev. I do really like Medvedev, so it's harsh to say heart over head, but I'd love to see a Djokovic Nadal final at the Australian Open, and it is that question over Nadal's situation with his back, and also the fact he hasn't got as much warm up as he'd have probably liked to, because he'd had to pull out of games because of it. But I think, especially with those early round opponents looking really nice for Nadal, if he can keep his physical shape, his physical condition really well up until the semi-final. Actually, that quarter-final with Tsitsipas looks a bit nasty, but I think Nadal's got a chance against Medvedev if he is fully fit and if he does limit his time on court along the way. Medvedev's probably the better player on hard courts at the moment, but Nadal, he's pretty good on hard courts himself. So I've gone with the Djokovic Nadal final, but you've gone Djokovic Medvedev. Let's hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly on the other quarterfinals, I think Medvedev against Rublev, which I've picked, a really interesting match. But again, just the matchup seems to be a really frustrating one for Rublev, and the head-to-head. Yeah, I can't seem to go against Medvedev there, because even when Rublev seemed to start really well when they played the US Open, it was never really, the result was in doubt. And I think Tsitsipas is quite a good matchup for Nadal. Just again, it's a bit like the Federer matchup was earlier in the careers, and Tsitsipas has given him trouble at times, but I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. So for the final, I've got Djokovic beating Medvedev. And again, I think I expect it to be another, probably a grueling match, like it usually is when they play each other, even just in best of 3. It could be a 2-set match, and it could still be extremely long because of the average rally length and the patience, the consistency you're going to see from the baseline. But I've just got Djokovic to edge it, probably in 5 sets. I would pick just to end Medvedev's fantastic run. But I mean, that could go either way. But I just think Djokovic desperately needs to win this tournament in the context of the Grand Slam race. And I think when that is the case, he usually finds a way to win it, like he did at 2019 Wimbledon, when it would have put him 6 slams behind Federer. Probably would have ended his effectively ended his chances as it was. He cut the gap to 4. So I think Djokovic will just edge Medvedev in the final.
Yeah, I think a fifth set battle between Djokovic and Medvedev. A lot of people would be like, that's the kind of game that makes people not want to watch tennis because it'll drag on and stuff like that. But for me, that's an absolute dream match. It's two players. I really enjoy watching Medvedev play, even though he is, quite defensive at times and he does stick mainly to the baseline. I still find his tennis really interesting. And obviously, against Djokovic, it is always a grueling match between those two. And it would just be interesting to see, as it got to that fifth set, just who turns up. I think Medvedev's record in fifth sets would kind of work against him in one regard, but also the pressure would be off. And against Djokovic, no one's expecting him to win the fifth set, and that might give him a chance to just go out there and try play his best tennis and give all he has. So yeah, you still back Djokovic to get through in a fifth set if that was the final. It would be a really interesting final along the way. For Djokovic, Nadal, I've got Djokovic in 4. I think Nadal against Djokovic in a slam match, in a 5-set match, I'd always have Nadal to take a set off him along the way. But Djokovic's better record at the Australian Open. He does look better on these courts. He's always really had the edge over Nadal on any hard court since 2011, really. So I've got Djokovic to win that in 4. What would you think of a possible Djokovic versus Nadal final if things go the way I've gone?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That Djokovic would win most likely in 4 sets, possibly even in 3, even because it is hard to predict that. But I think a lot of the meetings on hard courts have gone that way since Nadal beat Djokovic in the 2013 US Open final. But yeah, I think we've seen the improvements from Nadal on hard courts last season. I think if physically he is okay and we see him at his best, I think we could see a good match. But I still wouldn't bet against Djokovic.
I suppose that we'll move on to the WTA side of things now. So before we even go into it, I just want to talk about the bottom half of the draw, and especially Naomi Osaka's quarter of the draw, because it is really stacked, that bottom half of the draw. Apparently there's 8 slam champions in the bottom half and 5 in Osaka's quarter. So it's a tough run for Naomi, but if she wins the tournament after that kind of run, that surely, what do you think it is?
Yeah, that would be probably one of the great runs if it pans out as it's expected. But I mean, yeah, it's hard not to see her playing multiple Grand Slam champions because there are so many in there. I mean, you've even got Venus Williams in there as a first round, who obviously isn't being talked about, probably isn't a contender for a slam now, but just shows like 7 Grand Slams there. It's just lurking in the section. So yeah, it's a brutal section, probably one of the toughest I've seen in a Grand Slam for a while.
Yeah. So starting off, so what's your first quarter final for the WTA?
Yeah, I've got Barty against Pliskova for the first quarter final.
I've got the same. So also second quarter final.
Second, I've gone for Jennifer Brady against Victoria Azarenka. I found this quite a tough section to pick.
I've got Henning Azarenka for that one. What's your third quarter?
Third one, I've got Kvitova against Osaka, so I've got Osaka just to come through that.
I've got Kvitova for Osaka as well. I struggle to pronounce Petra's name there, but final quarter final. What have you got?
Yeah, final one was fairly tough as well, but I've gone for Serena Williams against Iga Swiatek.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I've got completely different. I've got Sabalenka versus Simone Halep, so a lot to unpick along the way here, it seems. So how did you get to your first quarter?
First one, yeah, I was fairly confident with Barty. I think I predicted at the start of, or before the year, that she would win the Australian Open. I do think she's had an advantage being a top Australian player. She's not had to go through the same. She's had a much better preparation that most players have gone through, and she's in the final of a warm-up event. She's looked pretty good. Obviously, she hadn't played for a long time, but she seems to have picked up at a high level. And yeah, I think Kovanic in the first round. Got probably playing Gavrilova in the second round. Alexandrova in round 3 could be a bit of a tough one, but I wouldn't expect her to be troubled too much. And then Petra Martic or Konovate in the 4th round. I'll probably say Konovate. Again, I think Barty will be too strong.
Yeah, I've also highlighted Alexandrova as a potential banana skin, but one I expect Barty to get through. Then Martic as well. I've got Barty winning in 3 sets there, so I think Petra could take a set off her, but I think Barty leads a head-to-head from what I remember. I forgot to take notes as I was checking. So yeah, I've still got Barty getting through that. So Pliskova, I feel like that side of things is a little bit easier to pick maybe. I mean, Mertens could be tough along the way. I feel like Mertens will get through to that 4th round. I think Belinda Bencic is the other kind of high-seeded player on her side of the draw, but I don't think Bencic has the greatest record at the Australian Open. So I've gone with Elise Mertens, Pliskova for the 4th round, Pliskova to get through that, and Pliskova quarter-final, which could be an interesting match.
Yeah. Sorry, I agree with you on that one. I've gone with Pliskova. I thought that was a tough one as well between Pliskova and Mertens, because Pliskova hasn't looked great in the warm-up events. She's lost fairly early this week and also in Abu Dhabi last month. But I think she'll probably come through there. She's got a tough draw. Probably Danielle Collins in round 2, then Mukova or Ostapenko in round 3. But I think she might just find a way through them, and that's a good way to play herself into the tournament. And then, I think it'll probably be Mertens in round 4 instead of Bencic, who hasn't played a lot recently or last year and hasn't looked that great when she has. Mertens is extremely consistent. I think she'll get to that stage, but Pliskova leads the head-to-head 2-0, so I think Pliskova.
Yeah. So the next quarter-final, was it Jennifer Brady versus Victoria Azarenka that you picked out? How did you get to that one?
Well, I thought this was quite a difficult one as well. But there's 3 players I was considering, which was Brady, Kenin, or Zachary for the one. I've settled on Brady. She starts off with Bolsova, Zadionov, which I think she'll win. Probably Madison Brengel in round 2, which will be tough. And then there's a really interesting round 3 potentially I've marked against Jo Konta. But I just think on current form, Brady is obviously in the semi-finals of a warm-up event and looking really good. Konta's gone out early and wasn't great last year, Konta, whereas Brady had a fantastic breakthrough season. I think I'll back Brady to win that. And then probably Kenin in round 4. Vekic is the other player who could be in there. I think Kenin, obviously the defending champion, will get that far, but she hasn't looked great in the warm-up events. And I just think on current form, Brady might upset Kenin at that stage. I think she has the firepower to do it. I mean, it's quite a big call, that one. Kenin, maybe I'm wrong to pay against Kenin, but I've just gone with Brady. And then Azarenka, I think it's looked good. I mean, she had a real resurgence last year, starting in the Cincinnati event, then at the US Open, and she's a real hardcore force again. I think when you look at the draw, Pegula, probably Sam Stosur in round 2, and Sakari in round 3 could be a really interesting one, who's a player in really good form and on the rise. But I think I'll just back it to come through that. She leads the head-to-head. And probably Svitolina in round 4 will be a tough one. She's obviously the 5th seed, but I just haven't seen a lot from Svitolina recently to suggest that she would stop Azarenka. So I think it'll be Victoria coming through that section.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really, really tough little quarter of the draw, I believe. Like Kenin, Vekic, Brady Konta, Sakari, Azarenka, Svitolina. There's so many top players in this little quarter of the draw. I've got Kenin getting through her section into the quarterfinal just because coming off the back of winning the tournament, pretty much defending champion, isn't she? Kenin.
Yeah.
I had to make sure my facts were right there. So I'd expect the defending champion to get to the quarter final, I believe. Although it is hard to say that based on how tough the section is. Jennifer Brady, obviously, in the most recent hardcore slam at the US Open, getting to the semi-final is an interesting one along the way. And then on the other side, Sakara's been playing really well recently, but I'd still have Azarenka to edge that in the third round, which would bring her to a possible fourth round against Elina Svitolina, maybe. I think Coco Gauff is in this section of the draw as well, so we've seen Coco take some interesting results against top players before, but I'd still have Elina to get through that one if those two met. So between Elina and Azarenka, just for recent form, pretty much the same reason as you. We haven't seen Svitolina play much tennis recently. We've seen Azarenka go quite deep in tournaments recently, so that's how I've got to that quarter final. So moving on to the next one, I've completely forgot along the way because of the differences of opinion here. What did you have again?
Oh yeah, I've gone with Kvitova against Osaka for this one. So yeah, this was quite a difficult one between Kvitova and Bianca Andreescu, but slight concern about Andreescu's fitness. I know she said it's not a big issue pulling out of the warm up event, but I mean after she's been out for such a long time, well over a year, it is a bit of a concern that she's not able to. She's still maybe not quite right. So I think coming in here, I'd expect her to get to the fourth round, but I mean Kvitova's path just to go through is Minin in the first round, probably Sorana Sestea in round two, Vondrasova in round three could be challenging. She's had a good run in one of the warm-ups, but I think Kvitova will be too strong, and then probably Andreescu in round four. Although I've known Andreescu potentially a difficult first round against Pironkova, who's been in great form since the US Open last year. That could be a really difficult match if Andreescu isn't fully fit, or even if she is. But I just think, yeah, there's too many questions about Andreescu. I think I've picked her to have a great year, but I'm not necessarily sure that those results will be this early. And I think Kvitova will be a bit too strong if they meet in the fourth round.
Yeah, well, actually, this isn't where there was a difference of opinion because I've got Kvitova, Osaka as well, and yeah, pretty much the same thinking as you. I've got Andreescu to reach that fourth round against Kvitova, but I've got Kvitova to win it just because of the lack of tennis that Andreescu has played recently, coming off the back of those injury issues that she had. I like you, I feel like Andreescu will have a good comeback here this year, but you know, getting to the fourth round of the Australian Open, I don't think would be kind of a bad result for her. First slam back, is it since that injury? So yeah, I think fourth round would be good, and I'd have a bit of a to edge that based on recent results really. And yeah, same thing. I mean, Osaka's section it is awful, but I would still have her to get through it. I think I've gone with Muguruza for the fourth round against Osaka, and I could see that going either way. But I think I'd still, if I was putting money on it, back Naomi. But yeah, it's one of those. We've got the same opinion, but I think we'd both admit we could both easily be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, so I forgot to go through Osaka's before, but I pretty much agree with you. I mean, Pavlyuchenkova first round's really tough. Probably Caroline Garcia round two. Players who should be seeded, you are unseeded. I mean, they're tough matches. And Ons Jabeur in round three is one of the tougher, lower seeds probably, but I think she'll just be a bit too strong. We've seen fantastic results from the Grand Slams recently, and yeah, I've got Muguruza or Kerber. I think it'll definitely be Muguruza on current form in round two and in round four. Sorry, and yeah, Muguruza has been steamrolling opponents in the warm event, so that could be a really tough one. But I'm still just siding with Osaka.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the final quarterfinal. Are we on to now? I think this is where opinion differed completely. So I'm going to need to be reminded of what you had here.
Yeah, well, I went with Serena Williams against Iga Swiatek here, which, I mean, yeah, there's four players you could have had probably an even case for these two spots, but I think Serena's looked pretty good. I mean, she did pull out of a semi-final against Ash Barty this week, with a shoulder injury, but I think that's more precautionary than a serious problem. So I think she's looked pretty good. I think Siegmund in the first round, Begu in round 2, Risk in round 3. I don't see too many problems there. I mean, I know Risk played a great match against Wimbledon a few years ago, but I don't think she's been in that form. And yeah, then obviously Sabalenka in round 4 could be a fantastic match. And Sabalenka had been in fantastic form. She had a pretty poor loss to Kanepi in the Wimbledon event this week. I mean, not too much of a concern, but just because we really haven't seen anything close to a best Grand Slam yet, I couldn't pick her to beat Serena at this stage. She's definitely got the game to do it, but whether she'll be able to execute yet, I'm still falling on Serena's side there. And then with Swiatek, yeah, that was a tough one between her and Halep, but just Halep as well, a bit of an injury concern with a back problem, like in her defeat this week. I think she really didn't look good. So I've gone for Swiatek to get there. And yeah, when she did play Halep at the French Open last year, really comfortable win for Swiatek, an unbelievable performance. I think if probably got Halep coming through there, she doesn't have the worst draw, but just I'm going to go with Swiatek.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did have a bit of a discussion on Swiatek in his WTA pre-season predictions podcast, and I think we both said that kind of just because she's won the French Open, it could be so easy to just shoehorn her into being, you know, a clay court specialist, give her that reputation, but I don't think she is. I think she has got a game that will translate onto the hard courts, and that's why I've got to get into the 4th round against Halep. But I've got Halep getting through that one. I think it's one that I could see going either way. I can, especially looking at that French Open game, you could see Swiatek getting another result over Simona, but I've gone with Simona once again. I don't feel too solid on that one. For Williams, I've got her going out in round 4 as well to Sabalenka. I think Sabalenka's been getting quite deep into tournaments recently. She's been doing quite well. She's playing some good tennis, and just I feel like maybe she might have the edge on Serena at the moment. But once again, you can't really write off Serena Williams in any game. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've almost said every section of the draw is interesting at this point. But once again, you know, a section of the draw where there's quite a few top players and things could go either way in a lot of matches. I've pinpointed a little Brit watching this section of the draw as well, Katie Boulter. She's had some good results, it turns out, recently. I think first tournament back, she got through 2 rounds, including beating Coco Gauff along the way. So are you excited to see Boulter back in Slam main draw action?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to see her back. And I thought she looked good in that tournament from what I saw. And then she played a pretty good match against Osaka in round 3. But yeah, definitely to have a great win against Coco Gauff was massively positive result. She looks in good shape. Obviously, she's struggled with physical issues for quite a while, but I'm glad to see her back and playing well. And also another one I just wanted to mention was Swiatek against Elena Rybakina in round 3. Could be a really interesting match. 17 seed Rybakina, but I've just got Swiatek to come through that. But that could be a one to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, along with Rybakina's route, she's actually got Swanareva in the first round, who's a finalist, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think she's on a protected ranking after not playing much tennis in the last couple of years, but it's not a first round opponent that you want, is it? Someone who's made 2 Slam finals, no matter what the recent injury issues and recent record is. So yeah, once again, interesting matches along the way, starting from round 1. So just looking at your quarterfinals, is it Barty Pliskova? Who did you have against Azarenka?
Yeah, Barty Pliskova, Brady against Azarenka. Yeah, then got Kvitova, Osaka, Serena against Swiatek.
So just talk us through those. How do you see those going?
Yeah, well, I've got Barty to beat Pliskova. I've got Azarenka to beat Brady. I've got Osaka to beat Kvitova, and I've got Serena to beat Swiatek.
Okay. So could you just talk us through those matches a little bit more? Just how do you see them panning out?
So So I think Barty, I'm pretty confident on. I think, like I said, I think a run at that stage would be a good result for Pliskova, who's really been below best at Grand Slams for a while. But yeah, I think Barty will have a strong tournament, and she'll be too good in that one. I think Brady will have another good run to back up a US Open result, but I think Azarenka will just be a bit too strong in that match. I mean, again, obviously she was a US Open finalist last year and came close to winning against Osaka. I think she'll go deep in a slam again. She's shown herself to be a hardcore force again that she was 5 or 6 years ago. And Saga against Kvitova, I think could be a really interesting match as well. But yeah, I think Naomi, having come through that section, I mean, she'll have had to have played herself into form to win against some of those opponents. And I think she'll probably just have the edge on Kvitova. And yeah, Serena against Swiatek, I think that would be a great result for Swiatek to get that far and possibly to have a win against Halep. But like I said, I've been impressed with Serena. I think she's looked good leading in, and I think she's going to have a deep run and be just the experience, just give her the edge there.
Yeah. So for mine, I've gone Barty to beat Pliskova. I think same reason as you. I think she leads the head to. Does she lead the head to head? Anyway, she's strong at. I think is Barty. I think especially at a home slam. But there's going to be crowds in as well, which I think is going to play a big part in a lot of Australian players' performances on both sides of the draw. Having fans there will be really good for them. I've got Azarenka to beat Kenin. She's looked strong in a lot of tournaments recently. I feel like she's back to her best. And yeah, the US Open final, getting that far says it all. I think I wouldn't be surprised based on current form if we end up seeing her win slams this year, although I haven't got her to win this one. So a bit of a Saka. I've gone with a Saka like yourself. I think she leads that one in terms of ability. I've two good players that I'd see a Saka edging that. I mean, I've got Sabalenka for Halep, completely different quarterfinal to you for final quarterfinal. And yeah, just Halep's extra experience at kind of this level, getting this far into slams. As a slam winner, I think Halep would win that one. So on to a semi-finals. So talk us through those.
Yeah, I've got Barty to come through against Azarenka. I think that could be a really good match. I think it's going to be tough to stop Azarenka, but Barty does have good layers of variety in a game, and yeah, I think she's really fresh coming in. I think she's ready to have a good run. She's had a great tune-up tournament, but that'll be a really tough match. But I think yeah, she could possibly end the wait for an Australian woman to end it. But we'll come to that in a minute. I think she'll just get through Azarenka. Then I think Osaka will beat Serena in the semis. Again, it'll be a rematch of the US Open final of 2018. It'll be a tough one, but I just think Osaka's greater movement at this stage, and also with the power to match, if not more power than Serena. I think it'll just give her the edge in a tough semi-final.
Yeah, I've gone with the opposite to you. For my first one, I've gone with Azarenka to get through that match against Barty. I mean, once again, the Australian crowd will be on Barty's side, and Barty is a top player. It's good to see her back on court because she didn't play much in 2020 at all. And it is one that could go either way. But yeah, I've got Azarenka to come through that one, and then for the other semi, I've got Naomi to get through Simona Halep, which means I've actually got a repeat of the US Open final, haven't I, from 2020, Osaka versus Azarenka, which, knowing the way that the WTA can be, where there's so many different slam champions, predicting two of the same final in a row on hard courts is probably not a good prediction at all from myself. But let's hear your thoughts on how you think your final will pan out.
Yeah, so I've got Barty to beat Osaka. I mean, it's a tough one. It's tough to go against Osaka. I mean, she's got a 3-0 record in slam finals, but to go 4-0 would be an unbelievable feat, and maybe that's going to be she's going to have her first runners-up result here. I just think, I went with Bai before, and I think she'll have been preparing so long for this to be perfect for this tournament, to be in the best condition. Obviously, not hardly playing last year post Australian Open, so I mean, she'll be putting so much into this slam, home Grand Slam, and it'll be a really tough match in the final. I mean, but I just again mentioned with the variety of Bai could be a factor. But yeah, really tough one. I would expect it to be a tough 3-set match, but I'll just go with the home favourite and the world number one.
Yeah, I mean, if that was a final, I could see it being a really enjoyable match to watch, and one that would go all the way to a full 3 sets. But I think if that was the match for a final, I'd still have Osaka myself, because I mean, I can see why the extra preparation that Barty will have had in Australia for the Australian Open could work in a favour, but I'd just say the lack of competitive tennis in 2020, I could see it working against her a bit more. So a little bit of difference in opinion there on how that might pan out for Barty. But for my final, I've gone with Osaka Azarenka, and I've got a repeat result of the repeat final from the US Open, so Osaka to win. I mean, I do think Osaka has the edge over Azarenka just as a player. I think her game's just that little bit better at the moment. But also, she's won the Australian Open quite recently as well. I've predicted her to be my world number one, to take the most slams out of any women's player this year. So I feel like I had to stay true to my pre-season predictions on this one. But that really tough draw along the way has thrown me, and I would say if she did manage to win that show, that comes down to a legacy of more than just an extra Australian Open being added onto a slam count. If she did get through that draw and win, it'd always be mentioned in the context of this particular title, just how tough of a run she had to win that. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I agree with you. That'll be right up there in terms of tough draws. I mean, yeah, you should really have earned that. I don't think you'd have seen too many tougher routes than that. And I think I would agree with you on that final. If we did see a repeat Osaka Azarenka final, I would go with Osaka. Because I think just at her best, yeah, she just does have a bit too much Azarenka, movement wise, power, stronger serve. I just think it'll be a tough match like the US Open final. But yeah, definitely it's hard to argue with Osaka winning a hardcore Grand Slam. She's been the player to beat in that format for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I think probably the next podcast will be post Australian Open, won't it? So we will get to compare the final results to us predictions. Will you be putting any coupons on based on your predictions?
I'll be probably not. I mean, I'm less,
No.
not on the women's side. I'm not convinced on the WTA side. The men's side, a little bit more confident, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone to follow my picks.
Yeah, I think I have put a little bit of a bet on the men's side, put a bit of money on it, on my quarter finalists. Basically, I've bet on a really high accumulator, really high odds accumulator, and just basically every player I've picked to reach the quarter final to do that. So that's a little bit of money I've lost. Don't bet is the advice that I'd give to most people. It's not a good thing at all, but we will see for Australia, a review of the Australian Open in a couple of weeks' time. It's been great to have been joined by Ewan again. I'll let him get off and watch the Newcastle match now, which is kicking off in 10 minutes. We are now on Spotify and more podcast listening platforms, so look out for us on there if you prefer to listen rather than watch on YouTube. See you in a few weeks.